Unported Pro Scale models, welcome to part 1 of our Alpha Models 124th Aston Martin DBS Superleggera video build. So yes, part 1 of this kit. This is one that's been in the stash for a while. It's not a new Alpha Models kit at all, but it's an absolutely stunningly beautiful looking car. It's been a kit that's been in there for a while, and just at me being me, out of the blue, I thought, you know what? I really fancy building that. So here it is today. I've got a very nice special colour for it and a good idea for an interior colour as well. So we're going to get that done and see how this turns out. Not going to bother with a review today. I've got so many Alpha Model reviews out there. With it being an older kit that you can't get anymore, sometimes it's not worth doing. So we have a quick look through the box and begin the video. And we're going to crack on and get this thing built. So let's jump in and get started with the build. Don't forget, there is a Patreon on my channel. You can get early access to all the videos. You get an exclusive bench update every week. 10% off Pro Scale paints. You get added to a Facebook group for patrons only, and a Facebook Messenger group as well. And you can ask me questions, ask advice in person in the group. And you also keep me being able to do this as my day-to-day job. So there's a link in the description down below, as well as links to everything else associated with myself, ISM, and Pro Scale paints, etc. all down there. So there we go. Let's jump in. Let's get started with the build. Okay, so we're straight in with the build. No review on this today. I've reviewed so many Alpha Model kits lately that it just wasn't in me to review. We're going to have a quick look through the box. So the resin, as always with Alpha, absolutely flawless. Beautiful, beautifully cast resin body shell. 2 sets of wheels on this. We've got these beautiful twin 5-spokes, which are the ones we're going to use. And this rather unusual set as well, with like double 5-spoke as well. Both nice, but I prefer the straighter ones. Got all our interior in there. We got all the lights, brakes, lots and lots of small bits, door cards, dashboard. We've got the interior tub itself. Again, beautifully cast resin. It's going to need some tricky masking on this because I've got some plans for this interior. So that's going to be interesting to do. And of course, we've got the usual bag of all the P goodies and what have you there, and decals. So we're going to start off rescribing. So we've got my Holly 0.2mm scriber. I'm just going to lightly rescribe the lines. Now, the panel lines don't necessarily need rescribing per se, but I often find you get a bit of crap, for want of a better word, in the panel gap. So I like to run it through just to clear it out, make sure it's all nice and uniform, and just to deepen them just a little bit. You don't need to be aggressive with this. When I see people scribing kits, it looks like they're trying to get through to the other side of the bloody plastic. So just a light rescribe, just to make them a bit more pronounced. And just be very careful here. Resin's quite soft. If you slip a describer, it's a lot of work to get rid of the mark it leaves behind, because like I say, resin is quite soft. So just be very purposeful. Good scribe is essential here. Sadly, these Hollies are no longer available. So after this, I'd probably go with the Tammy one myself. But avoid at all costs the trumpeter one, the little cheap one. That is not a great rescriber at all. But yeah, if you can find these Holly ones, I highly recommend them. They are very, very good. I'm lucky to have the full set of them. And for me, they're probably the most controllable ones because it's literally at your fingertips. And they do a fantastic job. So like I say, really clean body on this. We're using our Mickey Mouse toothbrush to clean out the panel lines of any dust as well. And again, we're on the road to primer here, so trying to get the best possible surface for our primer. Perfect preparation, prevents piss poor performance, the old P thing. So yeah, just take your time here. Make sure no flaws in the body. And make sure you clear those panel lines well. Now, on tricky parts like this fuel filler cap, I've got this beautiful Hasegawa scriber that my buddy Brandon put me onto. Again, different tool for different subjects, for different uses. And again, it works absolutely fantastic. Because this is just a straight down scriber, it makes going around corners so much easier. Absolutely razor sharp, well, pinpoint sharp, and does a really good job of doing parts like this. Relatively cheap tool as well. I got this from Plaza Japan, delivered for about £12. And yeah, doesn't get used all the time, but when it does, it's a very, very useful tool. So, surface of the body, we're going to key with a 2000 grit Tamiya sponge sander. We're going to go around and just lightly key all the resin. Now, we're doing this for one reason. A couple of reasons. Number two, sanding it will get rid of any imperfections on the surface of that model. So if there's anything there from the moulding process or any slight imperfections left behind or roughness, this will get rid of it. But mainly the reason I'm doing this is to key the surface for primer. Now, resin is quite a tricky material to paint because it's very smooth. So I find keying it up with a 2000 grit sander, which will introduce thousands of micro abrasions into the surface, allows the primer just to grab a little bit better. I've had paint pull off resin before. It's a pain in the arse. It really is a pain in the backside to deal with. So this preparation here is vital. So rescribe your lines. Key all the surface with a decent sanding sponge. I recommend the Tamiya ones, although hopefully we'll have some at Pro Scale soon. And just keep cleaning out all the panel lines of any dust or debris left behind, and just be thorough. Focus a lot around those windows because they're areas I've missed before, and we are going to mask the windows up later on. So I will pay particular attention there at this stage, and also for the next stage as well coming up. So we've got our wing mirrors. There's not a lot of color-coded part of this body. So we've not got a huge amount of parts to prep. We've got a couple of body colour parts and some carbon as well. So it's just test fitting the mirrors. And once we've done that, we've got the Pro Scale Paint pre-paint degreaser, which is the perfect fluid for degreasing bodies. And we're going to just wipe over all the surface of the resin. And this will do two things. It will get rid of any dust left behind from our previous scribing and keying. And it will also degrease the surface thoroughly. So that will give us the greatest chance of allowing our primer to adhere to the body. So we've got some Pro Scale Paints grey primer. This is a microfiller primer. We're going to put this on a nice thin coat, evenly building it up. Now this will leave a slightly rough texture once it's on. So once you flat it back again with a 3000 grit Tamiya sponge, it will go super smooth and it will have infilled any slight imperfections that may be on that body and give us a beautiful, smooth, primered surface. So that's the idea of our primer. You don't want to be hosing it on. It just wants nice, light, thin coats. Paying attention to all the nooks and crannies, in and around all the light intakes, vents, in and around the bumper recesses, wheel arches, just everywhere. Get the primer in. Like I say, just nice light, thin coats to build it up. I use my Iwata CR3. It's a 0.3mm Iwata airbrush. I'm at about 18 psi. And we're going to put 3 to 4 light coats of primer on this body, leaving 5 to 10 minutes between each coat to allow it to flash off and dry. Like I say, pay attention to all the nooks and crannies, all the wheel arches, the bottom of the sills, in and around all the bumper inserts, in and around underneath the light insert, in and around the windows, just everywhere that will hold a coat of primer, give it a coat of primer. Now, I've sped this up a little bit to speed it up, or else we'll be here all day. Like I say, I'm going to put 3 to 4 light coats of grey primer on this, and then we'll let this dry for a good few hours and come back later on, flat it back, and then we'll come back for colour. Now, the colour on this car, there are several options for this, and I finally settled on Aston Martin Racing Green, which there are several. We've got 2 on Pro Scale. We've got one from 2014, I think it is. And the one I'm going to use is the 2022 colour, which to my eyes, the more pretty colour. So you go there and have a look at our paints. Don't forget, we also colour match paint at no extra cost. So if you have a colour that's not on our website, drop us a message either via email, the contact us form, or messages on Facebook, or and I'll try my best to match the colour. We do use original manufacturer codes, so this should be the exact same colour you will get on the real car. Well, they are the exact same colour you will get on the car because we're using the OE paint codes. That's the word I'm looking for. Like I said, if there's something there you haven't seen or you can't find, just drop us a message and we'll try our best to help you out. So yeah, with 3 or 4 coats of primer down, you can see we've got a beautiful grey primered uniform surface there. Like I said, we'll leave this to dry for about 6 hours. I normally leave it. It's dry within about 30 minutes. but I like to leave it a little bit longer, and then we're going to flat it all back in preparation for our paint. Now, I missed out the degreasing process on this one, and I'm also going to miss out on the taking back of the primer. Forgot to record, I think, both times, which is a shame, but you've seen me do it before. It's not like you've never seen me do it, so it's just one of the cases of, yeah, just remember what I've done in the past. As you see, the primer's laying down absolutely beautiful there. We're also priming all the parts that need it as well, like the wing mirrors and what have you. And here we are. Here's our colour. So we've got the Pro Scale Paints 2022 Aston Martin Racing Green, which is a beautiful, deep metallic green colour. Same airbrush, Iwata CR3, 18 psi, and we're going to put 7 to 8 light coats of this paint on the body. Just building up nice and slow. And again, exactly as we were before with priming, we're trying to focus on getting all the coverage and all the nooks and crannies, recesses, sills, windows, everywhere. We're going on off the airbrush at the end of each coat of paint. That way, if we do get any build-up of paint, which you don't really with our paint because they're not that type of paint, it'll blow off before you come back on with air. But I would always recommend going on and off the air and on and off the paint after you come off the body of the car, just so the airbrush doesn't spit anything on it. And you see the coverage of the paint is absolutely phenomenal. Our paints aren't over thinned. They lay down absolutely beautiful. Cover really quick. Very fine metallic flakes in there as well. I substitute any larger flakes for smaller flakes of the exact same type, just a smaller variety to make it more scale effective. And it does work very well. I've had a few cars I've built in the past from other paint manufacturers, and the paint flakes have been that big, it's just ruined the build. So I always strive to make sure the flakes are the correct size for the paint. As you see, just go around the entire model nice and slowly and systematically, getting the coverage around there. Now, I don't know what's happened with my camera. It seems to have moved in a little bit. So I've lost a little bit of depth of field. Field of view, I suppose it is really, isn't it? So I've actually moved it now. Unfortunately, another build after this one. We've got the Audi Quattro. But after that, when we get to the Porsche, I have widened the camera shot a little bit. It's just sometimes larger bodies like this, I tend to bring forward a little bit so I can see better. Smaller parts just tend to spread a bit further back in the booth. So apologies for missing it off. But as you see, just one coat of paint, and we're starting to go down really well. Don't be worried about getting coverage. Coverage will come from the multiple coats. We're going to alternate between left and right and up and down passes as well, and that will ensure we get a nice even coat of paint all around too. So we're going to go over black roof on this. I did contemplate doing it in carbon, but this particular car I found an exact version of what I want to do. So I thought, you know what, that's how I want to do it. And it did have just a gloss black roof with some carbon accents. So I thought that's what I'm going to do. So here we are. This is probably 4 coats of paint in. Just 4 nice light coats. You can see the colour starting to come through, and the coverage is absolutely fantastic. Just getting all those wheel arches and what have you. Once this is clear coated, this is going to absolutely pop. It's going to look fantastic. Just paying attention to get the coverage and all those little nooks and crannies around the windows. Even if you're going to paint them a different colour, I would still do a uniform coat of paint. All that's going to be painted black. I would still do a uniform coat of paint all over. Not this is a good practice for painting. You'll always know you're going to get an even paint finish. And here we are, the last coat of paint. I reckon this is coat number 8. As you can see, we've got our beautiful Pro Scale Paints 3D paint stand at the back there. Not needed now because the lid's back on the bottle of paint. And a pipette holder next to it as well. You can get these on our site if you go and have a look. And if you look at the paint, we've not even used half a bottle of paint there. There's still near enough a full colour cup in the airbrush as well. There's probably still another 5 millilitres of paint in there. So very, very efficient on the paint. And as you can see, that colour looking absolutely stunning. It is a beautiful green colour. I think it really suits this shape of car. Once we combine it with the black roof, I think it's going to look really, really nice. Well, I know it's going to look nice because I've finished it already. I've already seen it. But yeah, nice kit this one. Nice looking car. I think the Astons can be a little bit, not underrated, but underloved, I suppose it is, in the kind of supercar, sports car world. I think the UK, we got a bit more of a thought for them because obviously they were originally British. I don't think they are now. Is it BMW who owns Aston Martin now? Who owns Aston Martin? I forget. But they are a nice car. Underrated? No, I think they are well liked for what they are. But this one is a beautiful looking car. Now, anyway, the paint's dried. We let it dry for another 6 or so hours. I always tend to leave 6 hours between coats of paint, just so I know it's totally dry, especially when masking as well. We want to make sure that it's fully cured and dry. We've got a selection of AZU tapes here. It'll be 1 and 2.5mm tape. And we're going to go around and carefully mask all around the windows and the roof for our black roof. So, like I say, I did have the option of doing a carbon. Sadly, there's no carbon in the kit, so I'd have to cut it all myself. And like I say, the version of the car I found for inspiration actually just had a painted roof, so that was the direction I opted to go. And the AZU tape is Tamiya quality tape, and sadly, the last 3 or 4 packs of Tamiya 1mm tape I've bought have been cut wrong, and they were wavy on the reel, making them next to unusable for doing things like this because you weren't getting uniform straight tape. So I went back to AZU, and to be honest, it's just as good. Just as good. It's a tad cheaper as well, and I'll be using this for the foreseeable future. So yeah, lots of finicky masking today. I'm not going to bore the life out of you with it. So we go around first with the 1mm, then we infill with the 2.5, and then we come back in with the 6mm to get the majority of it, and the rest of it is filled with cling film, saran wrap, sandwich wrap, plastic film, whatever you guys call it in your country. We call it cling film in the UK for wrapping your sandwiches up and food and what have you. There we go. And now we've got some Pro Scale paint deep black, and we're going to put several coats of paint on the roof. So coverage of the black, absolutely fantastic, really is, and it lives up to its name. It is a very, very deep black. Like I say, just nice light thin coats. Whenever you got anything masked, always detack your tape as well. Every single piece of masking tape that's been put on the car has been detacked on the back of my hand, or even sometimes my forehead. Yes, your forehead is a very effective tool for detacking tape. Doesn't need to be super sticky, the tape, it just needs to be sticky enough to hold itself down. And don't hose the paint on near the masking tape, certainly not on your first pass, and I wouldn't recommend hosing it on anyway, to be honest. Just nice light thin coats, build it up. We'll do several passes around the body until we've got the coverage we want. Like I said, the deep black really does live up to its name. It is the deepest of deep blacks out there. And it looks beautiful on trim like this, especially once it's clear coated. You can really appreciate the colour, the depth of colour it has. So let me know your thoughts. Would you have carboned this? I think it would have been a lot of work. It probably would have looked good, but like I say, I found the exact car I built. I found an online video of the exact car, so I've literally kind of used it as inspiration, and that had just a gloss black roof. So would you have carboned the roof, or would you have stuck to it being black like mine? So there we go, several coats of paint down, and that's looking good. And we can unmask it all nice and carefully. Whenever you're unmasking as well, pull the tape back towards yourself. Don't lift it upwards. Again, you lose, you reduce the risk of pulling any paint off that way. I'm always very dubious with resin, just because of the type of material it is. Sometimes, I've had problems in the past, but following the way I've done this, the priming or have you, it will drastically reduce the chance of you pulling any paint off. And there we go, perfect. Now I've got some very tricky carboning to do, and there's no carbon in the kit, so I've got to do it all by eye myself, which is a pain in the backside. So the rear diffuser I tried to do originally in one piece, and it was having absolutely none of it, so I ended up having to do it in several pieces to get it to fit. And I'm not going to bore you to death with the whole technique because we've got a front splitter to do, rear diffuser, and all the rear kind of bumper panel on the back of the car using Tamiya, the smaller weave carbon film, and obviously using our heat gun to help persuade it in place. I very nearly got this piece on in one go, and it just failed at the very last moment, so I opted to do it in several pieces instead, which is a bit of a shame, but hey ho, it is. Using UMP decal solutions, these are the best for this in my opinion. Just allow them to sit on the surface for a second or two, and then just keep working it gently with your brush. I use the Derwent water pens here. You can get these on Amazon or from any good art store. Yes, don't worry, that is my camera. There we go. It's a case of, yeah, I've got a little bubble there, so I just popped it. I think it's the bubble that was the demise of this piece of carbon. Front section, I've kind of cut a curved piece of carbon. I used the very front lip of the car itself as a template, and then cut the decal out. As you see, it worked quite well. Actually, it did work well. I've got it cut basically to shape. These are quite difficult pieces of carbon to get to conform, and the back end was an absolute nightmare. This took several pieces to get this to work. A good few hours of carbon fibre work here. It took a long time. It really did. I think the overall effect's worth it though. I didn't book match them. I just put them in one go, and then off camera we've painted the little vents on the side in the deep black as well. And I'm just chucking in some cedar glue down the back, very carefully. And then we can pop these pieces in, because these can be 2K'd with them in. So they were painted in the deep black as well. Push it fully back and fully home. Same on the other side as well. And there we go. Looking good. So we're going to 2K in part 2. I'm not going to do it this time around. The rear spoiler as well, we've also carbon fibered. And I'm going to glue this in place very carefully as well with some Bob Smith Super Gold. Just a couple of strategic points. 4 in fact. And then we'll pop our boot spoiler in. Very, very carefully. Don't put my arm in the super glue. I always do that. End up with the tattooing cup stuck to my arm. So we're going to pop this in place and glue it in. So there we go. Don't forget, peeps, as well, you can get early access on all these videos by becoming a patron. It's 2 to 3 month early access at the minute. There are loads of videos on my Patreon that haven't hit ISM yet. So you can become a patron in the link down below. Pick the applicable tier. There's loads of perks. You get 2 to 3 month early access on all the videos. You get a bench update every week that's just for patrons. You can get 10% off of Pro Scale paints with the applicable tiers. You get added to a Facebook group and a Facebook Messenger chat group if you wish as well. And you can also request reviews, builds and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff, loads of it. And obviously your support keeps me able to do this and release the videos as often as I do. Black Tamiya panel line wash now as well. So get this in all the panel lines, let it dry for half an hour or so, and we'll wipe that off with some Winsor & Newton Sansador, cotton bud, and a bit of kitchen paper, and that's it. This is where we're going to leave that build for today. We'll be back in part 2 very, very soon. We'll be 2K in it, and we'll see what this beautiful colour looks like. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, give the video a thumbs up, and also leave a comment if you're watching back. Always nice to get the support off you. I might not reply to every comment, but I do read and appreciate every single one. And there we go. So that's where we're going to leave today. Paintwork's looking absolutely fantastic. And I cannot wait for you guys to see this 2K because it does look absolutely beautiful. So there we go. As always, thank you to my wonderful patrons. Catch you all next time.